Have you ever been told to just be more rational and push your feelings aside? Or maybe you've told yourself that, thinking that emotions are just messy distractions from logical thinking. This idea is everywhere in our culture. We praise the stoic, the unflappable leader, the person who can make decisions with a cool head. It seems logical, right? Emotions are unpredictable, chaotic, and often lead us to make bad choices. So the smart thing to do is to suppress them, ignore them, and rely solely on pure, cold reason. But what if I told you this entire approach is fundamentally wrong? What if emotions aren't the enemy of reason, but a crucial part of its machinery? What if trying to suppress them is actually the most irrational thing you can do? This deep-seated belief that rationality is superior to emotion is what I call the rationality error. It's a cognitive blind spot we've inherited. We imagine our minds as having two competing forces: the logical, intelligent self and the primitive, emotional self. The goal, we're taught, is to have the logical self win every battle, to keep the emotional beast locked in its cage. This model is simple, it's appealing, but it's completely out of sync with how our brains actually work. Thinking this way sets you up for a lifetime of internal conflict, a war against a part of yourself that you can never truly defeat. Because you're not supposed to defeat it, you're supposed to work with it. The truth is, a mind stripped of emotion isn't a supercomputer. It's a broken one. People who have suffered brain damage in the emotional centers of their brain don't become hyper-rational beings. They become pathologically indecisive. They can logically list the pros and cons of choosing a blue pen or a black pen for hours, but are unable to actually make a choice. Why? Because they lack the emotional gut feeling. It tells them which option asterisk feels asterisk right. A feeling that ultimately pushes them to a decision. To understand this better, let's go back to basics. What was the original purpose of emotion? Think of our ancestors on the savannah. Their survival didn't depend on writing philosophical treatises. It depended on quick, effective action. Emotion was the brain's original operating system for survival. Fear wasn't a distraction. It was a life-saving signal. It triggered an immediate physiological response. Heart rate increases. Adrenaline floods the system. Muscles tense up, all preparing the body to either fight or flee from a predator. It was a beautiful, efficient system. Anger wasn't a moral failing. It was the drive to defend territory or protect one's family. Joy wasn't a frivolous luxury. It was the reward signal that encouraged repeating beneficial behaviors, like finding a good food source or strengthening social bonds. In this original context, emotions were not noise. They were data. They were high-speed, non-verbal commands designed to produce a specific, adaptive action in the real world. Suppressing fear would have gotten you eaten. Suppressing anger would have meant losing your resources. Every emotion had a clear, functional purpose tied directly to survival and well-being. So, if emotions are so useful, why do we have such a problem with them? The problem isn't the emotions themselves. It's that we try to suppress them. When you push down an emotion, it doesn't just vanish. It's a form of energy. Physics tells us energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. The same is true for emotional energy. When you suppress sadness, it doesn't disappear. It might morph into chronic anxiety, physical tension, or unexplained fatigue. When you bottle up anger, it can curdle into resentment, bitterness, or erupt in uncontrolled outbursts at inappropriate times. Imagine trying to hold a beach ball underwater. It takes constant effort, and the harder you push it down, the more forcefully it will eventually pop back up, often at the most inconvenient moment. This is what suppression does. It creates a constant, low-level internal pressure that drains your mental and physical resources. It's an exhausting and ultimately futile battle. Furthermore, by suppressing the signal, you lose the valuable data it contains. You blind yourself to what your internal system is trying to tell you about your environment and your needs. The real issue in modern life isn't that emotions are bad, but that we misuse them. Our ancestral wiring is still intact, but the context has changed dramatically. The predator is no longer a lion. It's a stressful email from your boss, a passive-aggressive comment on social media, or a looming deadline. Your brain, however, still reacts with the same ancient fear response. Your heart races, cortisol spikes, and you feel that urge to fight or flee. But in an office setting, you can't physically run away or fight your boss. So what happens? The emotional energy is generated, but it has no outlet. We end up just sitting there, stewing in a cocktail of stress hormones. We take the emotion and turn it inward, looping it in our minds. We get anxious about our anxiety. We get angry about our anger. We judge ourselves for feeling sad. We've turned emotions from a signal for action into a source of internal commentary and self-criticism. We use them as a reason to tell ourselves stories about how we're not good enough, how the world is unfair, or how things will never get better. This is the modern misuse of emotion. We experience it, judge it, and then get lost in thought about it, instead of using it as it was intended. So, how do we fix this? We need to recalibrate our mental operating system and learn to see emotion not as noise, but as a control signal. A control signal in an engineering system provides feedback to guide its performance. A thermostat in your house is a simple control system. It senses the room's temperature, the data, and if it's too cold, it sends a signal, the action command, to the furnace to turn on. It doesn't judge the cold or get upset about it. It simply uses the data to trigger a corrective action. This is the model we need to adopt for our emotions. Your feeling of loneliness is not a character flaw. It's a control signal, like a low fuel light in your car, telling you that your need for social connection isn't being met. The appropriate response isn't to judge yourself for being lonely or to distract yourself from the feeling. The response is to take action. Call a friend, join a club, go to a public place. Your feeling of frustration at work isn't just stress. It's a signal that a boundary has been crossed, a value has been violated, or a process is inefficient. The action might be to have a difficult conversation, to delegate a task, or to redesign your workflow. See the shift? You move from being a victim of your emotions to being a user of your emotions. They become your personal guidance system, constantly feeding you real-time data about your internal state and your relationship with the world. Let's make this really practical. This is about applied control. How do you turn this signal into fuel for action? First, you need to accurately identify the emotion. Don't just say, "I feel bad." Get specific. Is it disappointment? Is it envy? Is it guilt? Naming it precisely already reduces its power over you. Second, accept the feeling without judgment. Don't fight it. Just acknowledge it. Okay, I am feeling a wave of anxiety right now. Third, and this is the crucial step, ask yourself, what is this emotion signaling? What need is not being met? Or what action is required? If you feel bored and listless, the signal is telling you that you need novelty or challenge. The action is to learn a new skill, start a new project, or explore a new place. If you feel overwhelmed, the signal is telling you that your resources are stretched too thin. The action is to simplify, to say no, to ask for help, or to take a break. The emotional energy, that feeling of restlessness or tension, is the fuel. Instead of letting it spin in your head and create anxiety, you channel it outward into a productive, corrective action. The emotion's job is done once the action is taken. The feeling of anxiety about a deadline is meant to fuel you to create a plan and start working. Once you start, the anxiety often subsides because you've responded to the signal. You've used the fuel. So, let's stop fighting a war against ourselves. Your emotions are not your enemy. They are not a sign of weakness or a glitch in your system. They are one of the most sophisticated and powerful tools you possess. They are the legacy of millions of years of evolution, finely tuned to guide you protect you, and motivate you. The rationality error has taught us to fear this power, to lock it away. But by doing so, we've only made ourselves more fragile, more conflicted, and less effective. The path forward is not suppression, but integration. It's about learning to listen to the data your emotions provide, to understand the signals they are sending, and to use the energy they generate as fuel for intelligent action. This is the foundation of a robust mental operating system, one where reason and emotion work together, not against each other, to help you navigate the complexities of life with clarity and purpose. Thank you for watching this episode of Mental Operating System. If this idea resonated with you, consider subscribing for more content on upgrading your mind. See you in the next one.